Hey, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be going into all the times that Anakin Skywalker came back as a Force ghost after Return of the Jedi. But before we begin, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So Anakin returned from the netherworld of the Force in his pre-fall form alongside Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi. All three at peace for balance had returned to the Force. They smiled at Luke, pleased to know that despite the best efforts of the Emperor, the Jedi had returned. Each thought to warn Luke about the future, as each saw that there was yet much danger ahead for him, and more darkness to overcome. But instead, they decided not to burden him with that just yet. Luke in turn saw them and felt their approval and their sense of peace. Anakin then asked his two mentors whether Luke would end up alright. Obi-Wan responded, noting that it was possible, given that he had been alright so far. For the next years, Anakin's spirit, alongside Obi-Wan and Yoda, continued to guide Luke. So, following the Battle of Endor, Vader's castle remained standing on Mustafar, and his former servant, Vanne, was freed from the captivity of the Sith Lord, had placed him in when two young Mustafarians, Tuttle and Giget, tried to destroy the fortress. Surviving the blast, but breathing in the unfiltered lava fumes of Mustafar, Vanne began to hallucinate that which he feared the most, his master. Vanne thought he was hearing the voice of Vader, and that he could help resurrect his master. After using nightmares to lure Lena Graf's crew to Fortress Vader, Vanne began the process to restore Vader. Yet, Rebel officer Lena Graf, having realized that the servant was only hallucinating, pretended as if she was the reborn Vader to be freed, then turning on Vanne and freeing her companions. Vanne was left again imprisoned in Fortress Vader, forced to breathe in the lava fumes and hallucinate nightmarish visions of Vader. Meanwhile, Graf tried to use the lightsaber given to her by Vanne to lead her crew out of the castle, yet the blade failed to activate when she needed it. Instead, the true Force spirit of Anakin Skywalker intervened, appearing in the fumes and making a lightsaber appear in his hands. Unable to see the face of their savior, the crew assumed it was Graf and followed the light of the blade outside to safety. As the crew left Mustafar aboard the Rabbit's Foot, they were left to speculate whose lightsaber they had seen in the fumes. Anakin, standing on the surface of Mustafar with the lightsaber he had summoned, still drawn, laughed to himself when Graf claimed she knew ghosts did not exist. Around 9 ABY, after Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka had met, while the former began his Jedi Academy, Ahsoka engaged on a quest to find a compass that would lead to Peridia, the rumored location of Grand Admiral Thrawn, in the hope of preventing the beginning of another war and the return of the Empire. Following a duel between Ahsoka and Baylan Skoll, the former was defeated and knocked off a cliff, resulting in her near death. However, Ahsoka woke up in the world between worlds, where Anakin awaited her. Anakin greeted her, though her back was turned, causing her to call out in confusion. Anakin then stated that he was not expecting to see her so soon. Ahsoka finally turned around and saw Anakin, before saying his name in shock, causing Anakin to smile. She once again said his name, before claiming that he looked as she remembered him. Anakin responded that she had grown old, to which Ahsoka chuckled. When Ahsoka asked why she had come to the world between worlds, Anakin reminded her that she had lost her fight with Baylan, and told her that he was there to finish her training. While Ahsoka stated her disbelief that it was too late for Anakin to teach her, he asserted that one was never too old to learn. When Ahsoka asked what her lesson would be, Anakin ignited his lightsaber and attacked Ahsoka, telling her it was time to live or die. When Ahsoka told her old master that she would not fight him, Anakin said that he had heard that before. As Anakin continued his assault, Ahsoka ignited her lightsaber and defended herself. As Ahsoka and Anakin continued their duel in the world between worlds, Ahsoka held her own and suggested that perhaps her master didn't have anything left to offer her. Anakin, smiling, said he hadn't taught her everything just yet, before slicing the platform beneath her, sending her falling to the depths below. Ahsoka awakened as a younger version of herself in a location obscured by fog. As clone troopers in Phase 1 armor, many of the 501st Legion, ran by her, she was greeted by Anakin, now wearing armor and appearing as he did when she first met him. He confirmed that they were witnessing a battle from the Clone Wars. Ahsoka didn't understand why they would be experiencing one of her first missions, which Anakin said was the problem. As her master headed into battle, Ahsoka ignited her original green lightsaber and followed him for answers. During a lull in the fighting, Ahsoka found herself standing in an encampment of many injured clones, finding a clone on a stretcher with a bandaged head. Ahsoka rested her hand on the trooper, who reached out with his own hand. Anakin found her and warned that more separatist battle droids were approaching. Ahsoka, however, still somber amidst the carnage, contemplated how they had lost so many under her orders. Anakin offered a masterly insight. He reminded Ahsoka that they were in a war and that it was a Jedi's job to lead, but affirmed that the mistakes and losses weighed heavy on him. Anakin explained how he had to teach his Padawan to be a soldier, despite his upbringing as a keeper of the peace. Ahsoka wondered if fighting was the only thing she would have to teach her own Padawan one day, but Anakin pushed that fighting was how one survived. As explosions appeared in the distance, Ahsoka mused that she might want to stop fighting, to which Anakin said that would mean she would die. As Anakin advanced once more into battle, his appearance flashed between his Jedi self and his Sith identity as Darth Vader. As Anakin continued her training, she battled Mandalorian super commandos at the Siege of Mandalore, alongside clone troopers of the 332nd Company. Clone Commander Rex spotted Tano, complimenting her on her work before charging forward. Ahsoka paused, surveying the battle as Anakin approached her, saying that he did not recognize the battle currently unfolding. Ahsoka then informed him that it was the Siege of Mandalore, which had occurred after the two had parted ways. Anakin proudly affirmed that Ahsoka did well, though Anakin explained that Ahsoka was the culmination of Anakin's knowledge and the legacy of the masters before him. Ahsoka believed that her part of that legacy was one of death and war, to which Anakin asserted that both he and Ahsoka were more than that. But Ahsoka recalled how Anakin had been more powerful and dangerous than anyone could have realized. At the mention of his fall, Anakin said that Ahsoka had learned nothing and reminded her of her choice he had given her: to live or die. Anakin ignited his lightsaber again, revealing a red blade and Sith eyes. Ahsoka once again attempted to refuse to fight, but Anakin pressed on, and the two dueled. Anakin kicked Ahsoka back into the darkness of the world between worlds, as his form shifted back and forth to his helmeted Sith persona, Darth Vader. Enraged by Ahsoka's lack of conviction, Anakin battered down on Ahsoka with strike after strike, claiming that it was time for her to die. Ahsoka outmaneuvered Anakin and took his lightsaber, holding it to his neck. However, she dropped the lightsaber into the void, saying she chose to live. Satisfied, Anakin smiled, bowed his head, as his eyes returned to their normal state, and said there was hope for her yet. As the world between worlds rumbled, Anakin disappeared, and the mysterious plane slowly filled with water, enveloping Ahsoka as she closed her eyes. A short time later, after Ahsoka followed the pathway to another galaxy in pursuit of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and to rescue Sabine Wren and Ezra Bridger, Ahsoka found herself stranded with Wren in a faraway galaxy. As they settled into their exile and looked towards the stars, Anakin watched over both. After Wren sensed something through the Force, but brushed it off as shadows in the starlight, Ahsoka sensed something as well, and spotted Anakin's spirit. With that, Ahsoka walked away in content as Anakin continued to watch on. Anakin's appearance, along with that of Convor Morai, proved to Ahsoka that she was where she needed to be. So, this is one that has to do a little more with Disney Star Wars. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the sequel trilogy, but I did find this one interesting. So, in 21 ABY, Anakin's son Luke began searching for exegol, and came into conflict with the 9 paranormal Sith wraiths. When Luke found himself against impossible odds, a ghostly blue figure appeared, which the Jedi initially mistook for his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. But after fighting off the wraiths with his lightsaber, the figure turned, revealing himself as none other than Anakin Skywalker. Anakin reached out his hand and Luke took it, and then found himself back on Tython, as if he never left. At Tython, Anakin's figure flashed in and out and shifted between him as a young Jedi and him as the old man Luke had seen behind the mask of Darth Vader. Luke noticed that he seemed to be in pain and afraid. Anakin explained that there was a disturbance in the Force. That was a shadow from the ancient time. He also clarified that the Seeing Stone he had sent a part of Luke to Exegol, and that it had taken everything in him to bring him back. Anakin reminded Luke that he could divert the path of the Force if he needed to, and that no matter how dark things seemed to be, he was never alone as long as he allowed the Force to be his guide. Anakin then disappeared, and this is the last we'd see him as a Force ghost. So what'd you guys think? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.